To our audience today. This is a very interesting topic. I want to join the previous colleagues in thanking the proponents of this activity because it is part of us. I also want to imagine, Mr. Focal Person, that this is the best audience that we have. I will be glad if you can have multiplier effect so that even those who are not watching us on social media are able to get what we are doing from the audience here with us. Ladies and gentlemen, the topic we're talking about now of awareness about reproductive health issues is wide. So as a parent, I look at the elementary practical issues. My other colleague, the expert of gender, has given that from the perspective of expertise. But I will focus more on the elementary issues that we go through daily. First of all, this is about health care. How do we take care of our lives? Social activism that explores the health of individual reproductive health system. So let us look at ourselves as individuals first. How do we handle ourselves? How do we handle our health in terms of reproductive health in particular? How do we handle our sexual well-being? Of course, we are adults. According to our constitution, all the people between the age of 18 and 30 are youth. And youth is an age of consent. So whatever we do, we are accountable. Wherever, cannot say it is accidental. That's how it is defined by our Constitution of Uganda in 1995. So there is nothing we should say, oh, I didn't know this. We must be responsible for our lives. So how are we as individuals? Many times, my senior colleague, Peter, and all others, we tend to think that it is the youth who are vulnerable. But these days, even our age, I think the people of our age who are more unserious than the youth. So this is for all of us. How do we take our lives? I therefore implore the proponents of this to think of a methodology that will help us to get education, to be sensitized on how best we can live safe life. Of course, I know we have a number of approaches in place, but how best can we make it more appreciated by the audience, more accessible by the audience? I want to thank the Makerere University through the Dean of the Industry Department. There are things I share around which look funny, but are in order. When I go to the university hospital, I see condoms, female and male. When you go to halls of residence, you see them. And the students demand for them. And they're not shy. I think that is right. Continue demanding for them. But when you get them, how do you use them? Some get them and put them there and keep. But when the activity comes, they don't use them. When my colleague was talking, Donna, the gender expert, I think when she comes back, I would request her to give more light on some of the feminine issues. But as a parent, by the way, I'm not using experience in because it might be seen as, like you said, that person of experience. Now it is tricky. Which experience? I'm talking as a parent now. Now, as a parent, I'm aware that the ladies, our younger ladies, when they go in for sex, they go in for love. It is love that takes the ladies in sex. On the contrary, most of the men go in for fun. I did not say all, but I said most.
You are protected, that is your opinion, and we shall engage you further on that. But proceed.
And
proceed.
So, that gives us accidental issues. That is why even some men deny the pregnancy they have offered.
Yes.
Now, if he was prepared, why does he deny? And the ladies embrace it. Not because they have no choice, but they have love for the younger babies. So, therefore, the younger men have a big role to play in this, in the well-being of both the male and the youth sexual life. Many times, the ladies don't give in live sex because they are stupid. But when they love, they love. So they give in because they don't offend or to annoy the male partners. Knows I'm making a point. So now, my colleagues, the men, how do we help to have a good sexual life for both you and your partner? Sex is not bad because it has a number of advantages. One of them, it is the purpose for which you are here. If there were not two people who had sex, we would not have any of us here. But it is important to have it at the right time and the right place. When you look at the point of Christianity, the point of Islam, they define marriage clearly. Define marriage clearly, and to be married, it is through a formal, acceptable way. And you look at the customary, that one is the traditional part of it, which I don't talk about. You look at the religious, look at the civil. Now, after that, you can have sex and enjoy. And at that level, these issues of condoms not be looking at avoiding infection, no. But now, at the level before marriage, which is illegal, but we know that much as it is illegal, we do it. So because we do it, we protect ourselves to avoid the unwanted pregnancies and also the diseases. Now, why this issue when I'm handling this issue of reproductive health? It's because the unwanted pregnancies cause adverse effects to our younger ladies, and they count so much in causing very adverse effects to reproductive health. Because those of age but choose to abort abortion has, other than being just illegal in Uganda or being a sin religiously, it has adverse effects on the health. It can affect the ladies not even to give birth in the future. But those who give birth in the course of abortion, because they use different methods of doing it, it can affect you, and when you grow up, begin getting effects that of different types. That is reproductive health, which I would implore organizers of this to put these people in cohorts and have information of the effects. Because sometimes when we say sex is bad, people may not understand. Why? Because when they're doing it, they enjoy. So why do you say it is bad? So we should go beyond and explain the adverse effects through abortion. And abortion is through having accidental sex. Because you're still in school and you're having it. So how safe can you have it? That's why I began with the issue of providing condoms. There are other contraceptives that also have adverse effects on the health, that affect reproductive health, which can only come in later when we are talking about now issues which are technical by health experts. I would also implore the younger men who are here to avoid rape. Even a person you love, you think is your girlfriend, can be raped. Today, Uganda is battling with a bill that's for it to become an act of those issues of how a husband can rape a wife. How there are many issues within the bill. I'm just concentrating on this, the issue of rape. Now, when you have sex with mutual acceptance, there are usually less chances of having issues that affect your life. Remember, you're looking at sexual well-being. This is, unfortunately, there is no school that is teaching our younger people sex approaches. We learn accidentally, and sometimes we learn wrong things. But the issue of preparing each other is very important. Not just chasing like a cock and mapping on a hen. Why is it important? It's because you have safe sex. How safe is it? You not harm each other. Because the harm that you cause gives more chances of causing STDs, and these STDs affect reproductive welfare of both of you, which in the long run has other issues. Even men have issues of prostate cancer. And this is very common to us when we are at a high advanced age. People like me, who are about 50, have now issues of getting checks all the time. The men here are aware, those are not aware, I must implore you to have constant checks. But sometimes what we get is because of our behavior that we had when we were youth. So those of you who are still young, can you begin now to know what safe sex is? Don't use force. Use friendly and love approaches. It is for enjoyment, and things which are enjoyed are not by force. Even the cultures that use force for marriage, I think, are ceasing to exist in Uganda. I don't know whether I'm still on focus. So, I would really implore our younger people, even not to get scared of approaching. In the university setting where we are, we have people who are not well utilized. We have adults. We have the wardens. Both for the ladies, I don't know how many younger ladies have approached Donna, my colleague, when you have issues. By the way, these issues we're talking about are not for jokes. They can cause death, can cause stress, can cause suicide. So how many people have issues and don't approach, and approach our female wardens? They are very senior. And how many gentlemen approach us? Don't fear us. We are like you. We can share a lot. Now we are available. Sometimes the counseling, you might say it is far, but we are near. So this issue is very big. That's why I must thank so much the organizers of this. Because sex is like a food. There are people who cannot stay for a month without it. But how are they having it? It's the biggest question. And who is teaching them? Because in every field you have experts. Who's an expert in this? People use experience. Don't become self-excelled expert at the age of 20. You might make accidents. Consult. Go to the university hospital. Consult on some issues. We have ladies who get chronic effects of STDs and STIs because they are shy. They fear to go to the hospital. Now, ladies, don't be shy. Nobody, no medical person will say that you are having it because you are reckless. The one who will say so will be unprofessional. Some of these are got because of what we share. These communal bathrooms, communal washrooms. They expose us to those STIs, STDs for the girls or the ladies. But many of you die with them. They keep multiplying and you cannot handle. And you get health issues. As I conclude, let me give you my personal approach that you can all adopt in this aspect. Personally, before I leave home every morning, and I have shared with a number of health officials and elders, I take at least 2 liters of water. I begin at 5 a.m. taking. I take some 2 glasses. After taking 2 glasses, I do something, maybe reading. Then after that activity, I take other 2 glasses. I go to the bathroom. After the bathroom, before I brush, I take other 2 glasses. At the end of the period, in my 3 years, you have taken 2 liters or 2.5. What's the importance of this? You can try it. After taking, you will have a long call, a heavy one, and a good one. Because it will be pushing out dirty things from the body. But also you will have frequent short calls. Now, these frequent short calls are clearing that system where those they called germs, they would multiply. People who take a lot of water and keep urinating don't allow multiplication of those germs that affect a reproductive system. It will remain, and you see that your urine will be clean. Check your urine. And after that, take a fruit without sugar. Maybe oranges, but without sugar. Even your skin will be okay. Because the dirt has been coming out through the skin to go through the other normal system. I submit.
Wow. I think the applause should have been stronger than that. Thank you. Thank you very much. And just to reaffirm, because the discussion was too honest, but that is the debate. Why I jumped to you, Mr. President, is for the Warden University Hall, who has experience to crack this matter, because we are saying at universities we are having the wrong discussions. And when we have the wrong discussions, we leave our students to live on their own. The warden CCE complex said we need a lecture of at least 20 minutes to talk about sexual reproductive health, so that our children are not walking in the dark. So, Mr. President, are you aware that these young people you are in charge of now have such challenges, or whatever we are discussing is actually music in your ears? Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much, the moderator, but also my warden and my very good friend, colleagues on the panel, especially the two wardens, and exclusively for me, the warden of Complex Hall, who I'm still struggling to believe that is actually a warden, because he's not only young, but he's very beautiful. And the first time we met us, was introduced as a warden, I struggled to believe it. Mr. Itoju, who represents the students with PWDs.
Mr. President, can I interrupt? Are you one of those that have been asking her for the number?
Absolutely not. I want to distance myself from that. I am privileged to be on this panel, but Mr. Peter, I will not forgive you for making me speak after these senior colleagues, because it's very difficult to do so. But however, I will try my very best, and I would also like to thank those who are behind this endeavor. And the reason is this. While I was in year 2, I learned something called sociological imagination. And since then, it has remained stuck with me that in your village, if there's only one prostitute, then this is a problem of that family. But if there are like 100 of them, it's the problem of the entire village. The concept is that in our society where we have reached, the struggle for those who have HIV will not be theirs alone. It will be ours as a nation. Because when we leave the battle to the few who are affected, claiming that those of us who are safe, at least for now, that is not our challenge, we will reduce on the overall productivity of the nation, and that should have been a concern to all of us. Now, sexual reproductive health, Mr. Warden, I am aware of many of those challenges that have been projected on this panel, and I will claim no expertise on the topic of discussion, but like many politicians do, I'll give myself authority to speak to it. And my opinions may not be exactly
At least
true.
you can speak to the condoms in Nsibirwa.
Exactly. But I don't want the audience to get a very wrong perception. I only provide the condoms. I do not actually use them. But I want to make sure that those who use them have them.
What do you use, Mr. President?
That's a very difficult question that I'll skip for now as I develop a better answer. But I think the challenges related to sexual reproductive health are different depending on who we are talking to. In the context of Makerere University or such a society, I think the challenge is the assimilation of information, but not be exactly the inadequacy of information. Mr. Itoju talked about the counseling office, but if you picked a random student at Cobhams and asked them where is the counseling office, my best guess is they do not know. And even if they know, you ask them how many times have you visited? And I am shamelessly saying that I am a victim because I've never visited there. Yet I have challenges related to such. So I think the task for us uphill may now be to develop an assimilation policy for students to embrace the available information. Another challenge is the stereotypes. We find it very hard. While Mr. Peter had the bravery to discuss sex and sex in every sense of the word, many of us were roaring back there. Now, such is the difficulty we face to discuss sex in itself. My appeal, therefore, is that we can summon our courage to discuss it in it. So because we sometimes fall victim because of the lack of information, we're embracing it. But it's a reality that we must make peace with. And the second challenge, which is a different society, is the lack of information in itself. I come from Arua, and in my kind of setting, people find the word condom very unique, and they think it is for the elite. And they actually do not use. But now, why is this conversation I'm having very relevant? Is in that when you look at Makerere University, those who are behind all 3+, you should envision 40,000 very fertile, very intelligent, very energetic, and ready to work group of young men and women that the nation could tap into sufficiently to impact it very greatly. But how do we? My suggestion is that I belong to a cultural association, the oldest in Makerere University, called Makerere University Logbara Students Union. And there are so many others like KISA for Chitara students, there's Nkoba Zambogo for those from Central, and so many more. And we have since then had endeavors to reach out. What about if we tap into such associations to reach out there to the community? Because we are not only looking at the elite. Our nation has about 40% who are educated to this level. What about the others out there? But Makerere could still prove relevant in that approach. And I suggest very profoundly that the battle should be owned by the students themselves. Whereas I am very glad that on this platform I am having 2 students, myself including, having this conversation. I would expect so much more that students will be the ones to discuss these issues, because they understand it from an emotional point of view. And we could be here debating and projecting views, but they are repelling it in the names of these are people who reason from somewhere else. But let us get the very common of them to debate what they think about sexual reproductive health and make their own suggestions. Then we can invite the experts to project the expert opinions onto this. But to the audience out there, my appeal is that the battle should be ours all. Because the effects affect us all, and I hope that we can envision some of these things at a national kind of angle so that we own the battle as a whole, and we can, I think, then do a very great deal. Those will be my general comments on the subject of discussion, and I do so hoping that there's a chance for us to delve deeper into these matters when maybe I can assert more. But just as I conclude, I wanted to give my shall say, prospective friend, Miss Donna, that about my cabinet, I only barely availed half, and the remaining are almost ladies, but I'm sure when I release the final list, you'll be more than happy.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. We are privileged to host you on the very first functions as guild president.
The pleasure is all mine.
And we so glad that it happens to be issues that pertain the welfare of our students. We shall have definitely questions from the audience, but before we go to the audience, I'll take you through 1 or 2 questions per person that are so specific. Donna, you have seen the interests from the president. So the issues of gender and representation on the cabinet, I'm sure are going to be discussed in detail after this panel discussion. But Donna, you talked about lectures on sexual reproductive health. And you had what Peter talked about, sex and its purpose. You heard what the president is saying about us, the wardens, not being the ones discussing these things, but actually the students themselves. What is your position on how these lectures should be incorporated? And if the School of Gender jumps on this initiative, don't you think it would be biased, since gender discussion has its own complications?
Thank you so much, Peter Rivan. You propose good questions, but to say that gender has its own complications is rather an overstatement from your part.
Please look at the questions, not don't discuss gender between me and you. Let's be specific, because I know we have had engagements with Donna about gender discussions since she was a student at Africa. Now she's a mother of 2. She didn't say that.
I would really say let's engage more with what gender equality is as individuals, because I had someone who kept saying Google is your friend. So make research your friend and read more about gender and what gender is than these sweeping comments that most of us really get used to over time. Talking of lectures, Mr. Mwanja talked about the effects of sex and what sex without information can cause. And I had issues. Every time he talked about sex and its issues, I had an issue. I had like a burning thing I wanted to say, please. Because when you talk about sex and then you relegate it to all consequences to the girls, we forget that girls do not have sex with themselves. These pregnancies that Peter kept calling unwanted are not caused by girls. So it is a general issue. When we're looking at sex, it is about the two that brought us on earth, like Peter had said. So when sex information is being disseminated, like in this room, it should not be a cause of, Donna, Susan, you're going to get pregnant and get cancer and die. It should be an issue of how much information do you have? How can you be protected?
Donna, just a minute. What Mr. Mwanja was emphasizing, if I remember very, very well, is that the young men should take the responsibility.
Absolutely.
Is that the young ladies should go when they have decided. Is that no one should rape one another. What we want to look at is how do we disseminate this information to 40,000 students so that it has an impact on their lives.
Absolutely. What Peter Mwanja explained was deep, but however, it seemed like an attack on the women, if I can say. That's my point of understanding. Though, as makerere in itself, we have a lot of entry points to disseminate this sexual reproductive health information. Like I told you, the school already has a quiche. It's an app and a full website where information on sexual harassment as a student, you can give in your information and you can get more information on what the university is doing. So my reach out to Rahul is to seek cooperation than competition. When you're approaching the School of Women to work with them, it's not to downplay what they're doing, because they are somewhere, and they're somewhere where you'd want to have that same journey. So in essence, because also the gender mainstreaming department, which sits in Senate, isn't it the same level? They have a number of ways that they've been disseminating information to the university. So for us to reinvent the wheel as reach a hand, as this, what we're launching today, the 3O+, for us to reinvent the wheel would be coming and starting from zero. Rather, seek to cooperate than compete with what is already existing in the university. Peter, if I'm to answer what your question was.
Thank you. I hear you in so many ways. But the most important thing is that we are going to continue with this discussion, because this is just a launch of these debates, and we shall have 1 million engagements until we are where we want to be. Mr. President. Mr. President, before you come in, Mr. Mwanja feels attacked by Donna's comments. But just in 1 second, please.
I want to use this platform because...
No, but we need you here, Mr. Mwanja.
You need me there?
Yes.
You don't see me?
Yes.
I see you.
We need you here for
Here.
purposes of order. We need you here. Yeah.
I just want to make a clarification. My colleague, I think, got me out of context. And you see, the challenge we have in these issues of reproductive health and sexual awareness is pretense. If we pretend, cannot achieve the purpose for which these lectures are intended. I don't remember having made an attack on the female gender.
Mr. Mwanja, just make clarification.
I said
Let's not make it...
that the younger men, or for us men, we should not coerce the ladies into sex when they are unwilling. Because if we do so, we shall cause adverse negative effects on their health, but even our health, because forced sex causes injuries, and the injuries may manifest into immediately STDs that could have been avoided if it was safe, lovely sex, but in the future can have major issues reproductive health. And in that say, there was no intended attack on the lady child. If I said so, then I was quite out of context.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for that clarification. Mr. President, you wanted to dodge the issue of condoms. But now I am in charge. Donna asked you what you use. But we don't want to discuss that. I have been, when we didn't have guild leadership, I realized that actually there were no condoms in halls of residence. Do you think that impacts on our students?
Absolutely. Just before, unlike you, Mr. Revan, I have been enjoying the debate between Mr. Peter and Miss Donna, and I had wished that you would dig deeper into the controversy. But away from the joke, I think it does, because like I always said, there's a difference in you sitting up here and debating for the students and trying to analyze their challenges than if it's the students themselves, because the lack of condom at Insibira Hall is an emotional issue for me, not just an intellectual conversation. So it's why I insist that it should be the students at the forefront of the battle. But also student leadership is very important, because then, Mr. Warden, you have seen that when water goes off, it takes about 3 minutes before I hit your phone 10 times until you pick it and the issue is addressed, or if there's no condom, I hit your phone until there's one. So I think student leadership is very important and might be the best avenue possible for us to reach out in terms of doing the sensitization about sex or reproductive health. In fact, very soon my government will be launching what we have called the MAC public debate. And it will be good and I think interesting to partner with O3+ and make one of these debates student debated about sex or reproductive health. And where we have students debating on two opposite sides about any specific agenda about sex or reproductive health. And I think if we can get the numbers, then we will have done justice to not only ourselves, but those that we seek to address. Because then there you are sure that you can get good numbers of students, and as the students debating. So when you listen as an expert to their opinion, you can then go back and sit and develop from your expert angle an appropriate solution to, because sometimes it is important to know that the one who is affected, how he feels about particular issue. And then it will also be interesting, and I think my government is more than willing to work with anybody in such initiatives. In fact, I did say that the government is about restoring relevance to the Students' Guild, and relevance in all aspects, including sex or reproductive health or any such related information.
Mr. President, was that your initial plan before UNESCO and Ministry of Education came in? But also, do you think it is very important? Because we are talking about a government of more than 100 student leaders. And that means the cream in terms of understanding and leading others. Do you think there would be relevance in having some discussions sometimes in the guild house related to the well-living of our students?
It will, and I think any avenue possible, it does us no harm to have that conversation, even in the guild house. But because the guild house does not debate for itself, the guild house is concerned totally with the welfare of their students. So I expect the debate to be in the context of the available information, how they themselves, because those in the guild house are also students, can access and utilize, but most importantly, how they can be at the forefront of spreading that information or rolling it out to the students who have charged them with the authority to serve them.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. Etoju, have you had any sexual reproductive challenges, both as a student of Makerere and before? And what do students with disabilities discuss in line with these issues?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ivan, for allowing me back on the platform. Actually, particularly as me, I have not actually faced such challenges, but when I go down deep there, I find that the students face these challenges. And when they do face, they don't have where to go, because one, they don't know where to go. But as my speakers have already mentioned, that as the discussion has been really made and going ahead, bringing it to Makerere University, I think it's a very good opportunity for I to go back down there and try my level best, discuss to them that this is how you're to do it, this is how you're to go it. Because first of all, the president himself even said, he himself even doesn't know where the guidance and counseling section is. So those are the challenges I say they do face.
So President, was that a joke or you meant it?
No, I said I know where the office is, but I've never visited.
Okay, sorry.
I was going to get worried.
So that is the kind of challenge we do face. So I really buy up the idea of the president, where he said that we need to engage student discussion so that they really understand on the way forward of how they will be helped. Because it's them that do have these problems they are facing. When they come to such a platform, they will be able to discuss them and they will be helped out. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Mwanja, in the capacity of Dean of Students, what is your message to our students about unintended pregnancies and HIV? But also, what is your message for staff? Because here there are students and staff. The other one is acting administrator of the guild, but also the warden of Mary Stewart. But you also said that us, the mature ones, have also sexual reproductive health challenges, though we keep pretending that for us we are okay. So what is your take on those three? Unintended pregnancies. There is a time when we were students, the guild president was told that there is a place in Nibwais where our students line up for abortion. And we had to go there with the guild leadership to see what exactly they were talking about. And there were a number of students lining up either for appointment or for the first consultation. But we have also learned from our offices that our students also line up at Uganda Cares for ARVs. And when you find them lining up for ARVs on a Thursday afternoon, they are very beautiful and handsome young men. So Peter, what is your take as the Dean of Students?
Thank you, panel moderator. First of all, I would like to agree with His Excellency, the Guild President, on the matter that this conversation should be so much done by the students. And I want to thank the organizers, because this one of now, indeed, it is balanced. 2 students, by the way, 3. I'm also a PhD student. So maybe, so, and I don't know. So maybe we'll have Donna as a staff. But anyway, that was a joke. Two staff, two students. And the staff being here is a sign of respect we give to this kind of activity. If we said, okay, since now it is yours, you go, and there is nobody here presenting the staff on the panel, somehow you do think don't have much interest in it. So, Your Excellency, I think this is balanced. But like I said when I was starting, that we need more conversation is to be manned by the students. And I was recommending to have cohorts, to have small units, as you will agree and guide as a guild leader. Because sometimes our experiences as individuals communicate better. But also, sociologists say that every generation has its own challenges, but the elders should guide. So sometimes when elders are around, don't be offended because they might guide. Then also, this is a broad thing that requires some experts that have been trained, now like Donna, and health experts to give some information. Direct question is now, as Dean of Students, let me begin with the staff. It is true, the staff, me, and my other colleagues equally have challenges like the students. And the challenge we have is perception. We should not imagine that those who have productive health challenges, it is because they are immoral. No. Some of these come without the direct invitation or the deliberate invitation of the victim. So it is important for us equally to have right information, to have proactive measures, like those of us who are aging. Automatically, we have now, I hope I not offend the donor when I say ladies have gynecological issues, which come with age, but even the younger ones, adults. So gynecology area, if you go to the hospitals, you'll be surprised. But men, we have issues of prostate. It is very serious. And those are productive health issues. So we need to look at our lifestyle. How should we behave? What should we eat? And that requires deliberate effort for the staff. Now, linking the staff with the students as wardens, and in this department, we need to have a deliberate approach to help our younger people. That at University Hall, what program do I have to engage with the goats? To talk about that life. At Livingstone, what deliberate effort do I have to engage the gentlemen, other than providing condoms, and to provide a conducive environment for them to come, that when they come, we really be professional. I don't discuss what we have done. That counseling might even be more accessible than the other one, where we don't know where it is located or where we fear to go. So, moderator, I think for the staff, that's what I feel we should do in this. We also use experience as adults, as elders, to guide, because there are other things we have gone through them. What was the other one of students?
Unintended pregnancies and HIV infections.
Now, we all know, I want to assume we all know how we become pregnant. If you don't know how we become pregnant, then that is unfortunate. So if we know Now, how do we avoid? When you have live sex, we have some people who have done biology. I am aware of some parents who use the safe method for family planning. I'm aware of them. They use the withdrawal method and they use counting. They count the days. I'm not taking that biology. I'll be general. They count the safe days and danger days. Now, during danger days, they use...
Are you qualified in biology?
I'm not qualified.
Okay.
That's why I'm not going deep. They use in the danger days, they use now the condom. The safe days, they go now for us, we need to abstain from sex. If you can't abstain, then you use a condom. But use a condom rightly. It must be with consent. Now, if you don't use a condom, the risk is STDs and pregnancy. The best.
Peter, are you saying if sex is not by consent, we shouldn't use a condom?
No. I am saying that even a condom works better with consent. And don't have any sex without consent. Mutual consent. No one should force the other. The male should not force the female, and vice versa. Although this debate also is wide, which can be now go down into intricacies with you at your level. Because another one will say that but ladies pretend. Now that one I cannot discuss now. That's where I agree with the good president that those groupings you can agree. How are we best handling ourselves to avoid our pregnancies? Because these ones come because of unsafe sex. Unsafe sex is sex that you have had without a condom.
But Peter.
And without...
Mr. Peter Mwanja.
Yes, Donna.
You had earlier talked of ladies have sex for love. You see, the more we come to these panels and have these conversations, and our telling people women come to the point of sex out of love, is the more we are misleading people. You will tell me that I'm being biased or anything, but the love does not just grow itself. It means that this irresponsible man has shown interest. So for us to now come here and say, so the consequences of sex are the way they are, and then women should do what they are doing is kind of a mislead. No woman goes to love for sex.
What should we do?
Let me explain to her.
What should we do?
No, let me explain to her
Just
first.
a minute, Peter. What should we do?
We should have the clear right conversations of women and men come to wherever they come, table, bed for sex. It has nothing to do with you loved me or you hated me, you had nothing, but it was for sex. So we should not be protecting the men for them they came masculine and what to the sex table, while the woman came with this weakling feeling. No, they came for sex, so we should have the conversations of what are the consequences of this sex they had. What can we do? And for us to say, instead of just giving condoms, but you see this condoms thing in halls has come from somewhere. It has come as a solution to a problem, and it's actually working. We should, in essence, be looking at Sauti Plus, the O3 Plus. How can we now get you in touch with our counselors? Because every hall of residence at Makerere University has a counselor attached to it for 200 hours a semester or a year, for 200 hours. So, in essence, we should be letting you, the O Plus, know we have a group of postgraduate students that are supposed to do this job. So that maybe in your activities, you can look out for them and give them the reproductive health information that is appropriate for youth, so that our counselors have capacity built, like Japheth said. We should not just come here to explain to ourselves how sex is and because I'm sure all of us, by the time you come to university, you're 18, you're 19, you're 20, in essence, those who have not had sex are looking for a way to have it.
Thank you.
I hear the voices, yeah.
So we should not treat university students like high school kids of telling them, you have sex, you're going to die. Because they've seen others who have had sex and have not died. I've had 2 children and have not died.
Finally, you said it. She has had 2 children and
Out
she
of
has not
sex.
died. Out of sex. I thought you had used the other methods like Mwan just said. But please don't forget that the purpose of these discussions is for us to get a starting point of how we start talking to our children. Because most parents, including me, by the way, Mr. President, are shy to talk about sexual matters with our children. Yeah. My firstborn is 15 years. I have not had an open discussion to discuss sex, and I even still think that it is not right to start engaging into that discussion right now.
How are you, my friend?
And now, Peter, you were concluding.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm happy because that's what they call debate. If we don't have such, you cannot enjoy as the audience. But let me be calm and make my points very clear. I know those who paid attention to me, who are not biased, got my point. And for the interest of those who didn't pay attention, let me repeat this. I said that men, me and other men around, have responsibility, more responsibility, to avoid the challenges that are caused by sex.
And Donna is
and
saying,
to promote reproductive health.
Peter and Donna is saying that by saying men have more responsibility is misleading our young ladies. That there should be a debate on the table. She called it the sex table of what we are going to do and what will be the outcomes and how we are going to deal with the outcomes. So that there is a consent.
Yes, now for me, I'm not in the theory. I am in the practice, things that are easily understood and help people immediately. So I said that for us men, when we get into sex with ladies, most of us men go for fun. And that's why we cause unwanted pregnancies and we deny them sometimes. But most of the ladies, and I'm saying most, but not all, most of the ladies, most of the women, when they choose love, they are in love. That is why when you break the relationship, they feel so bad, some even commit suicide. Because women go for true love. In most cases, and for us men, you see the other one,
don't
you
fear
jump.
to clap if you
You see
are
the-
happy about the point.
And these things are natural. God gave men eyes. And when you see the taller one, you look at. The curved one, you look at. And it is
What did he give to the women?
now, and that is not bad, because if it was bad, then there would be no approach to get women. And even women not be really loved. Now, the women in most cases stick to one man. They only go for another one after sometimes being offended. So, because of that, I'm saying in normal circumstances. Now, that's why I was saying that even in the act of sex, a lady will accept live sex because we don't want to offend the man. And in many cases, it is the man who might really have bigger decision on whether to use a condom or go live. Sometimes we force these ladies to go for live sex when they are not willing, but because they want to keep the love. Now, those words are not in any way offending the ladies. I'm only saying, just not pretend if we want to give real practical solutions. The theories that are said by many people sometimes are causing more confusion. I submit.
Mr. President, when you hear the two voices, who is more practical in the discussion and why?
I don't like the way you are dragging me to the middle of this conversation, but I will say this. In fact, I want to breathe some air by you permitting me to recognize the mother of all makererians, the guild mama. And if there are people here, both male and female, she's one of the most friendly people that you could actually reach out to in this aspect of the discussion, but even so much more. Without who is more practical and who is not, I think both in their own regalia have their essence, and I'm sure the audience has understood where the two parties are coming from. But I think it's also important that whereas we desire for an ideal, we appreciate what is actually going on and perhaps use that to forge a way as we try to reach out to the ideal. But for me, conclusively, I will talk about self-respect. I'm trying to sound like a very good child to my mother. Self-discipline. I am convinced that one of the biggest reasons God might have given us intelligence was to avert the stupidity of our emotions. And if you can't take charge of yourself, then I don't think you can take charge of anybody else. And because I think it's lack of self-respect that has built a very ridiculous circle in our societies. So you find a young girl and a young boy who are not ready to probably father or mother a child, like you did say, maybe accidentally having one, and then those two in their incapability bring this child into a world that they cannot offer a good life for him, probably can't take him to a good school to access this kind of information, and that child perhaps does the same. So that ridiculous circle builds over and will be a generation that is unproductive, and it's why I will conclude by once again taking the debate to a national agenda, that when we continue to do so and don't take responsibility to first of all assimilate this information that is here on this panel to ourselves, but then to spread it to others, we create an environment that none of us will desire to live in, and get those small decisions that we make correctly could have contributed a lot. And if you're student of Makerere University, you should look at yourself. Where I come from, if you're at Makerere University, you're probably the only one from that entire village. And so when you go back home, the people celebrate you coming from for a holiday. And that in itself makes you already a leader. So I will imagine that this discussion will not end here, that you use any available platform to try and spread the information. And the reason I'm saying is that we will all want a better nation, and we must make those small decisions and contributions to impact the nation at large. I hope I've dodged your question successfully, Mr. Peter.
Thank you, Mr. President. Donna, do you think it is important to speak to the ladies' halls about protection? And do you think that just like the male halls do it, we should have female condoms in CCE?
Thank you so much, Peter. To dive straight in what you're asking, I earlier said sexual reproductive health is not just, it does not have just one component of, you see, some of us can call it hiding our heads in the sand, but this is the truth. The real thing is that university students, high school students, generally young men and women, are having sex. So for us to talk to just protection is tackling what we want, not what is on the ground. What is on the ground is precisely what, like, the O+ is saying, our rights, our lives, and our future. You cannot have your rights if you have no life. So in essence, we should talk about it as a whole, about protection, about safe sex, and about abstinence. So you're asking whether we should have female condoms in the female halls of residence. In the female halls of residence, we don't just house ladies that sleep with ladies. They're heterosexuals. They are everything. So we should have condoms like we have. Actually, we do at CCE. While I was at Mary Stewart, there was a supply of condoms. So yes, there are condoms, and they're a good thing, but we need more information, not just freshers. They have just come and we are throwing condoms at them, who most of them maybe have not even started that whole sex life, but they need the information. And like you had earlier talked, for a 15-year-old girl, as a father, you should have had like that daddy talk sincerely, which most of us may not have got because of our parents' age and time, but we should be better. And this is why we're trying to raise better students.
Can we have that discussion after Donna?
No,
about parenting?
I'm not necessarily just talking about the parenting.
At least accept that I have raised her to 15 years.
Thank you.
Yeah,
but
using my own methods.
As university students, we should be way open. We should know, even before we start family, we should have these discussions amongst ourselves, amongst our friends, of if you had a child 20 years from now, or so you may think, what would you want that child to be like? I'm not saying I'm a model parent, but at least with my 4-year-old girl, she knows what her private parts are. She knows who should not touch herself, because no one should touch her. So in essence, we should have this information that we are ready, we are armored with it. Wherever the enemy will come from, we know. I know how a pregnancy happens. I know what I can do to prevent it. I also know what I can do when I get it. That's the wholesome information that we should be selling to us, which I'm so happy that Rahul comes up with, because I've been a friend to Rahul for some time, so I know how much they can give to a university.
And Donna, when I engage you without saying the word gender, your points come out very clearly. Yeah? I think we need to start looking for another approach.
Also, I'm not gender expert.
As this discussion continues, I want to take this opportunity to welcome the Chief Executive Director of Reach a Hand Uganda, and he's on his way to Entebbe Airport. So I'll just invite him straight forward to greet us so that we can continue with this discussion. Director.
Thank you so much for this opportunity, as well to just give a few remarks. Humphrey Naimanya, the CEO and founder of Reach a Hand Uganda. Amidst whatever that I was doing, I had to really cut it short and at least rush to the great Makerere, because for me, our foundation as Reach a Hand started from this institution as students of community psychology, and we were discussing exactly what Donna was talking about. Issues around sexuality, issues around gender inclusiveness, issues around body autonomy, and also the biggest issue around HIV and AIDS. But right now we are talking about the O3+, our lives, our future, our rights. And now, because of this great institution, it has generated so many innovations that are trying to protect the young women and girls in this country on whose rights have been stepped on whose dreams have been shattered due to child marriage, issues around teenage pregnancies, issues around the choices that we are making and lacking where we can access services for us to enable that young woman and girl in my village at 12 years of age to be able to come to this great institution, get a degree, go and get a job, get married, and also raise up beautiful children. Those dreams have been shattered. And the O3+ is coming on board to say, how can we protect our rights and fight for them? How can we be able to live our lives and have a better future. And that gap is about to be solved if we have mechanism where we can access the right information to grow up, the right information to understand our environment, the right information to make choices that can enable us grow into responsible citizens. And that's the purpose of this project. So I'd love to thank the administration of Makerere University for allowing us to for us to first launch this program, but also to interact and work with the students, because luckily enough that our times we never had as many programs like this come into the university. But now that we have an opportunity to see that Richard Handis Foundation at Community School of Psychology, we are back in this institution for us to implement not only O3 Plus, but also other programs. So I'd love to thank the administration for that. And also to thank everyone who has spared time to be here with us. For us, this is just the beginning. The O3 Plus group that has been working with us in Makerere University, we thank you. And the journey has just begun. There's so much that we have to do. There's so much that we have to really achieve. For me, when I'm speaking to Makerere students, I'm like speaking to my fellow champions that are being part of this room, and also you sparing time to be with us here today. There's a greater mission that you're going to serve in the future tomorrow. We're here to study. We're here to get innovations. We're here to be exposed so that we are able to take that knowledge back in our societies to see them a better place, or to create better societies where we're living. I'd love to thank for giving me this short time to speak to you, and I wish you all the best. And Richard Hand is open to every student. You're welcome to join our Peer Educators Academy starting in January. We have quite lots of programs that would love to partner up with Makerere University. So thank you for keeping the doors open. May they let them not close for Richard Hand Uganda. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Director, for first of all taking that time off your busy schedule and coming to speak to these discussions. Those who want to go to the academy, you may see him before he leaves so that you have the right endorsement. I can see Ginyera is eyeing it. Yeah. So I want to open up this discussion to have a few questions before we go to concluding remarks. I want us to keep the questions focused to the debate, not to make them personal. Focus them to the debate, make them brief, but also be as honest as possible. I'll take the first question from the lady at the back. The first question.
The first question from
the lady at the back.
Okay.
Hello everyone, my name is Caroline. I'm from the Swimming Directorate. My question goes generally to all the panelists, but especially it is coming from what the Guild President said. How do we pass this information to 40,000 students? Especially when you consider that these students are diverse in terms of their religious beliefs, cultural beliefs, but also that these students come from different positions. Some of them are financially well off, some of them are actually really poor. How will you pass this information? Because when I was hearing the panelists, that kept coming up, how the information will reach. But also to reach a hand, I wanted also to say that how is it going to avoid reinventing the wheel? Especially, I wanted to find out how they are going to ensure that they find out what is not working as far as passing information is concerned. Because I know for a fact they will not be the first people to try to pass this information to university students. what is it that is not working, that is stopping the information from reaching the students, especially the girls who are getting pregnant by accident. Thank you so much.
Thank you. The warden of the gentleman, Mr. Bruce, will come here at the front. But before he comes up, I think my eyes have come in contact with Rosemary from UNESCO. We've had 1 million engagements for this to come up. Would you please stand up for recognition? You are most welcome.
Thank you so much, moderator. Like he has mentioned, my name is Bruce Biamkama. I am the warden of Livingstone Hall, the land of the gentlemen. I have 2 questions. The first question is on the issue of vulnerability in regard to sexual rights. These students of ours, both males and females, are vulnerable in one way or another. They are being hit on by potential marriage partners, by fellow students, by sugar daddies, by sugar mummies. So my question is, how do we strike a balance between vulnerability and decision making in terms of sexual rights? Now the second question is about technology. We're in a modern world. So how do we also strike a balance between modern technology and sexual rights? Thank you so much.
Thank you. The gentleman, I'm not seeing this side. I don't know that there is anyone. The gentleman in a tie.
Yes, Daja Hao, good afternoon. Yes, my name is Ocheng Brian Emmanuel, student of BICAS, College of Institute of Confucius, Makerere University. Now, my question goes to the dean, especially, and to my president, Dangote, and to the warden. I don't know if there's another warden here. I have a drift between religion and condoms. The condoms are being provided in the halls, right? But we have these small prayer groups. I'm not attacking anyone's religion. There are these small prayer groups. They come and collect the condoms and take them away. For which reason, I don't know. This one is for this, something that is being provided for the students, for protection against HIV, pregnancy, or something. I don't think maybe we are trying to do this towards religion or what. But can we have that aspect also to address that issue? Because I think we are somehow going astray somewhere. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. We were supposed to have a religious leader on this panel, but we were unable to have him. We had invited the imam of the university mosque, but that issue is something to be discussed because it is within our society. So, panelists, any other questions? The gentleman at the back, then the next, then Guinera, and then we shall.
I am not yet to believe that you have not seen me, Mr. Moderator.
I actually thought that you were moving the microphone.
Sorry, you're mistaken.
Please.
I am Ronald Mwesigwa, and thank you so much for that discussion. And to refer to an example you gave us, Mr. Moderator, about you not being confident enough to have discussions related to sexual reproductive health and rights with your own daughter. And I want to say that you're not alone. This is happening to everyone almost. If you asked how many of us in this room can confidently stand and even express these issues to the next person to them, you might get a few of us.
Thank you for protecting me from Donna.
Yes, so our discussion is going to be how do we break these barriers? How do we make sure that everyone is empowered enough to express themselves or to discuss these matters? And how are we going to address issues of sexual reproductive health and rights amidst this? To me, we have to embrace the peer-to-peer approach. Saying that, yes, Madame Donna talked about lectures, maybe looking at where we can have issues like this addressed among students in form of lectures, that might not give a lot of results. Why? Because not everyone is confident, like we are saying. And the result of that is young people get information from corners. You find it is this friend of mine, I feel we are age mates, I can easily express myself to him. So if he doesn't have the right information, I'll get the wrong information that he has. So let us empower young people to make their own decisions. And another issue that I am a little bit disappointed about in this discussion is we cannot be in Makerere University. We are talking about young people. We are talking about sexual reproductive health and rights, and we are not addressing cross-generational sex and transactional sex. Yet we all know that in this university, young people are sleeping with old men and women. We know that the reason they are sleeping with them is transactional. I don't have tuition, I want to clear my tuition, and there is this someone who is willing to give me the tuition. And why we should talk about this is there's a gentleman who spoke before him. Did you call him the warden? Yes. He talked about vulnerability. The vulnerability comes in because I feel inferior. If I am in a relationship which is transactional or which is cross-generational, it is the other party who is likely to make a decision. So let us also think of how are we going to empower these young people to overcome these challenges and also be able to make their own decisions and not feeling like they are vulnerable. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Can I first pass here, take the warden of Mary Stewart and the acting guild administrator?
Thank you very much, moderator. Nora Narubawa is my name. I'm the warden of Mary Stewart and acting guild administrator, commonly known as Guild Mama. My concern is, Madame Donna said, there is bad sex discussion. This is where a sugar daddy, all of us will know that sugar daddies or sugar mummies come to our students. Let me give an example of a sugar daddy. He's with my daughter of 20 years. All of us will know that when a man is on heat.
Warden, can we first qualify sugar daddy?
Sugar daddy?
Approximately what age going upwards?
Maybe 40 and above.
Are you a sugar daddy? Please go ahead.
Please go ahead.
You can agree with me, for men, if you are honest enough, that when they are on heat, they can fail to control themselves. This is where my daughter is. In one or the other, he has found herself into that. The sugar daddy or anybody could not allow, there are some instances whereby could not allow any discussion. But for what the man wants to do is to do that and then release. If that one is done, then the man, some of them will get some sense. Now my concern is, this is my daughter who didn't have time to make any discussion whether we are putting on a condom, and some of them, they don't know how to use the condom. They just struggle, putting it on what? Because he is trying to go somewhere and finish what he's want to do. Now, in this situation, how are we going to help our girls what advice are we giving them that if you find you are in such a situation, what do you do? I submit.
Thank you. Thank you very much. You sound to have either counseled some of those who have gone through it or had experiences that are physical, because I hear it in your voice. From the back, 1, 2, 3, and then we come back to the panel.
Oh, thank you so much, the moderator. I'm called Uchen Abraham, a student at Makerere University doing Bachelor of Biomedical Laboratory Technology. I want to, first of all, thank the team that has organized this kind of discussion. I love it so much. But my question will go to my sister, who is on the panel. I heard her talking about ladies who have joined campus, that when they join campus, they know all these things that we are talking about. And I know for sure that the issue of sex is not something naive to all these ladies who are at campus. But my question to her is, she was talking about distribution of condoms to different halls of residence and also to girls halls of residence. But I'm trying to ask, in this scenario, we know like most of us, we came from a different background, but try to figure out some people from a deep village where they don't know about the rights, their right to speak or their right to decide. And they just found themselves getting involved into sexual intercourse. And they found that their right has been abused. Are we going to drive this point back home to help those people who are deep in the village? That's be my question. Could there be a solution that we are going to use also the method that we're using at campus to distribute condoms into halls of residence, or we are going to distribute also condoms into trading centers so they get to know? But I think that it will be like we are creating awareness for them that sex is a thing that we need to know. I will just drive it back to my father, who said he has a son of 15 years, that he has not talked about issue of sex. I think it will be better if we are nurturing professors from here to go back and teach people in the village by knowing the better way to approach them. But I would ask, is it possible, is it okay for that condoms to be distributed in girls' residence?
Thank you.
Yes, because it's my question, I'm directing to her. If yes, I know like most of these things, as Mama said, that most of these things, most of our girls, they go outside the hall of residence. And most of these things that we are talking about happen outside the hall of residence. When they get involved into sexual intercourse with sugar daddies and sugar mummies, does not happen within campus, but it happens outside. That will be my question and also my interaction. Thank you.
Is there anyone staying in the hostels outside campus? Can I get a question from that side, if there is any? Because our discussion seems to be centered at the halls of residence. But if there is no, then we can proceed with the next person is the third from behind.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm called Dr. Nelson Mandela. Mike, first of all, I want to comment on the issues of the freshers. I think not all freshers are young people, right? There are people who come here and mature people, like who are not really young people. So my question is like, how is the university addressing such kind of issues? Because I know most freshers could be the young people, but also the other people who should also be concerned that not all freshers are really from high school. There are some people who have been doing diplomas, then they came and then get into all the residents and also in the outside hostels. Then also on the transactional sex, of course I know I've been at campus, I've been at Makerere, I was a student actually. And I know some of this sex, the young ladies or the boys go for the sex because of the financial constraints at the university. Sometimes, you know, at the university, students go through certain financial constraints. So my question, how is the university addressing such kind of situation.
Thank you. Ginyera here in front.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Moderator. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ginyera George. I'm a student at law school in my second year and a proud resident of University Hall, where my warden is seated right there. Mr. Moderator, I have 2 points to raise. One, a supplement, and another question. And from the ensuing debate or the foregoing debate, I would like to note that the society we live in today perceives sex as a very moral act. That's why debates like this may not be appreciated, because we live in a deeply conservative society that still views talk about sex as immoral. And that's why maybe I must connote that that's why some parents still have difficulty in talking to their young ones about such concepts. And my question then arising from that supplement is that how best are we going to help these parents, help these colleagues of ours to deliberate on such matters, even in the most peculiar situations? I would like to point out that the debate that we're having today, like Ms. Donna, the warden of of Complex, noted that should be widened from the aspect of protection, because as clearly established by her, sex is going on whether you like it or not. So we must widen our debate from protection to better ways of having sex, to better ways of having safe sex, actually. And thirdly, I would like to ask a question. I've attended various symposiums, various debates like this, various platforms where people are sharing and deliberating on such issues. And as noted by one speaker where I was, they say that the good thing about these debates, people speak, people write down things, I'm writing down things, but what happens after debate is that people forget about the things they're saying. The advantage that you have here, we have major policymakers in this university that are in attendance today, policymakers that are here. So I pray and ask, how best are we going to implement or ensure that the things that are discussed today are prioritized in whatever they are doing? We are glad to have in our presence the guild president, and I pray that in all their deliberations, in the 3 months that they have, these things are prioritized and taken as primary to the welfare of the students. I beg to submit.
Thank you very much. And when they talk of policy makers, the guild president is a member of University Council. He's actually now our employer. If he decided that we all lose our jobs, we would be gone in 5 minutes. So, Mr. President, please, we begin with you to address his concern, arrest his worries, but also comment on any other questions raised that you think is appropriate.
Thank you so much, and thank you to those that raised these questions. I think I'll have the liberty to pick the ones that I think I should respond to, but I wanted to arrest your fear, my very good friend, that I have, within the 3 months, I have no intentions of making you lose your job, because you're my very good friend. So you should feel very secure and make sure that I stay here long enough.
Thank you, my boss.
Because as long as I am in, you're safe, and perhaps you consider extending my tenure to 1 more month. Actualizing, I think the challenge is just not limited to this debate. I was once a teacher within a very short period of time, in vacation. And when you get a group of students and talk to them, that evening some don't even eat. So they go and read, they think they have been empowered, but after 3-4 days, they go to factory reset and go back to their normal operations. So while we talk here, people could walk out of here different people, but soon or later, they will go and factory reset, and we'll have this conversation again sometime. So the challenge, and I do really believe from the same page, is actualizing the debate. And I will propose that those that are in charge of this, who have been listening, that I assume that you have a method of noting down action points from this discussion. Then you'll engage the panelists or the relevant authorities in implementation. But what I can offer is that on my own end, I have noted a few that I'll adopt to give some credit to my cabinet, because I have learned myself. But my broader suggestion will be that those who are behind and I'm talking about O3 plus. Do not leave this debate hanging for us to have another one. People have raised very serious solutions amidst the debates that have taken place. And I'm sure that there are avenues you could have pursued, and if there are none, I am imploring you to avail one to see to its end that whatever we're discussing is not left in air, especially one that fits in your objectives or plans as O3 plus. And then sex outside the halls. Besides the halls, we have major hostels, and the advantage is that these are known places. I don't know where the challenge is, and Mr. Rivan will guide, that the university is failing to have some influence at the hostels. Well, those might be different business entities, but they accommodate students of Makerere University who are your students or who are our students. Me, I think in the most friendly way possible, management should, if possible, even take charge of availing condoms in those hostels. After all, the condoms that I see are government property. I think we just have to lobby for more so that we can even give the hostels for them to be availed there. But the challenge is that many students find it hard to use the pink one. I see it paints you in a certain category. Maybe we can consider changing the color and removing government of Uganda. That was a joke in itself. My friend Brian raised the issue of condoms and religious groups that see condoms as a bad omen or abomination. And this is a fact. While I was the only leader at Insibira Hall, I had become the health minister, the chairman, and everything. So I went to University Hospital and collected a box of condoms, and people clapped when I walked in with the condoms, acknowledging me as a hero. But shortly after placing them, while I walked, Mr. Warden, just across your office, the ones there had been removed. I got concerned. I was like, within 4 hours, the students have already used all the condoms in the boxes. So I knocked on about 3 doors asking, did you pick the condoms? Then one of the students told me that one of the rooms there was for a prayer group, and while they walked out there, I think they removed the condoms. But I am learning that those group of students look at the condoms as a bad omen. But if there are any here, the idea is that whereas you have your religious beliefs, some have different. And we should have the ability to coexist. And therefore, you should not intend to own the whole, because perhaps if the condom is not meant for you, it is meant for others. But generally, as a leader, I think, Mr. Warden, we should make a deliberate effort to identify those religious groups through the whole leadership and talk to them, especially their leaders. Sometimes it is the followers who get the message very wrong. We should talk to their leaders and have a conversation. Is it truly that your religion bans condoms? And if they do, those of us who don't find it offensive to use, how do you plan to accommodate us in the society that we live in together? I think that will be a healthy conversation to have and might actually solve a couple of our challenges. I think that directly delves into the other young lady's question about how do you pass this information to the groups that are diverse. I think the biggest diversity that maybe contravenes policies is the religious diversity, because it directly, and I find it a very delicate debate to have, because now as a leader I do not want to turn a sect against me. I am still 2 days old as a guild president. I need all the support I can get. But either way, I will carefully try and maneuver around the conversation this way. That these religious institutions coexist, and there are many. So if your religion does not have the respect to accommodate other religions, it becomes tricky. But also second, I don't think your God will punish you for allowing other people do the things that they believe are the right things to do. And I hope the relevant authorities can pursue it, including myself, from that angle, and provide a relevant solution such as the ones I have tried to project. Then my friend back there talked about information to the people back home. And then how, someone also talked about how parents find it difficult. One, parents do not exactly go to a school where they learn how to convey this information to their children. Perhaps that angle can be the starting point. And somebody rightly mentioned about professors, not exactly professors, but we could look at programs that I don't know how parents will find it easy to be educated, because mostly they educate us. But perhaps that's one of the avenues where you need, my dear parents, to go back to school. And by school, I mean you not carrying your suitcase and coming to Makerere University. But we could look at programs where experts, because I believe they're actually resourceful persons who could have helped us in doing so, and help parents maneuver around this challenge. I'm not a parent. Perhaps the parents on the podium will provide a better perspective. But for me, from my side, such will be my suggestion. Those are the questions that I think I should respond to. And if there are others that I haven't, I'll be more than willing to be reminded and I respond to them. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. We couldn't have had any other sit in that position to discuss these issues, because you know we've not been having leaders, and as a result we've had gaps within how to coordinate our society. But Etoju, do you pick any question specific that you would like to respond to?
Yeah. I would like to respond to the question raised by the girl mama, where she stated that the issue of the sugar daddies and so forth. You know, the context of Uganda, it's the one always affecting us a lot, where we believe that girls are on a receiving hand alone. So it really becomes a challenge. And that has really been proved by some speaker, actually, my warden, when he was stating that men are always on top of girls in terms of decision or consent. So to that question, I could really try to analyze as if we try to impact knowledge on the ladies to have their own rights, actually to understand their rights. How can they defend themselves when such occasions happen? When a lady or a girl understands what am I to do when such thing happens, they will not be having such a perspective that when a man brings his 5,000, when you don't have or you're hungry, you have a right to deny because you're fighting for your future and it's for your safety. But most of us have taken it as when freshers join and you really attend the freshers orientation, most of the activities there, you'll never hear about these issues. You just hear, come to Makerere, the library is the other side, UH is this side, and so forth. And then most of the students, when they join, they know an institution like Makerere, most of them perceive it as a chilling zone. When they come chilling, they'll be going to beach, so forth, and on nothing. They will not be knowing how to take care of themselves. What am I to do as a student who has joined? How am I going to take care of myself to really build on what I'm being sent to do here? So the main point here is when there are occasions like the freshers' orientations, we should bring such ideas so that really we build and impact knowledge to them on how they should take their lives. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Etoju. I think that was very, very critical. We are moving actually towards the end of this discussion. I am told the Ministry of Education officials who have come to launch this program at Makerere University are close to the building. So we are going to have some entertainment from our cultural group, and then we'll resume for a little more engagement and the launch. Mr. President, you're saying something.
Thank you. I thought
as the cultural group comes in.
Yeah, as the cultural group comes in, I thought you were cutting me off completely, but I wanted as a parting shot because I have basically said all. Avail and unleash a few of my cabinet members. I've seen two of them. Her Excellency, the Vice President of the 88th Guild Government, Her Excellency Natalie Margaret. Thank you so much for joining. And then the Minister for Health, Honorable Minister Kalunji Vincent. Thank you so much for coming, and thank you so much, Mr. Peter, for the opportunity.
I had seen other ministers, but I think they have stepped out. The one of information and research, the name still hasn't stuck in my head.
Muzaffaru.
Muzaffaru is very common on Twitter. He was here. I think he has stepped out. And all the student leaders present, we welcome you. So the culture